Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Scotland at 7 on the 1st of February 2020. Now, first of all, the coronavirus update. As of 2 o'clock today, a total of 1,571,813 people in Scotland have now been tested through NHS Scotland labs and the UK's regional testing centres since the start of the pandemic. Now, of these, 1,391,280 were confirmed negative. 180,533 have tested positive. There are 848 new confirmed cases of COVID-19. This will be an underestimate of the number of cases. Not everyone with the virus will display the symptoms, and not all those with the symptoms will be tested. No data has been received from NHS Tayside Laboratory since Saturday the 30th of January. There were 6 new reported deaths today of people who have tested positive. The number of patients in Scotland who have died from complications caused by coronavirus COVID-19 infections now stands at 6,112. Now, this number only includes those who have died after receiving a positive test for the virus in the previous 28 days. Of the people who have tested positive, 1,958 were in hospital last night, 143 of whom were in intensive care. Now, 575,897 people have now received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccination, and 7,849 have received their second dose. The latest UK daily figures published today show that 106,564 patients who tested positive for COVID-19 have sadly died from their illness, an increase of 406 since yesterday. This number refers to deaths in all settings and not just in hospitals. Now to tonight's main headlines. The SNP Westminster Group has undergone a reshuffle. Ian Blackford MP announced the reshuffle of SNP MPs, including changes to his front bench team. The SNP Westminster leader said that the reshuffle would draw on new talent and ensure that the SNP has the best possible team in Westminster as Scotland faces the challenges of COVID-19 and Brexit. Ian Blackford MP welcomed 4 new additions to his front bench: Patricia Gibson MP as the shadow spokesperson for housing, communities and local government, Angela Crawley MP as the shadow spokesperson for the Attorney General, Richard Thompson MP as the shadow spokesperson for Northern Ireland, and Stephen Flynn MP as the shadow spokesperson for business, energy and industrial strategy. The latter 2 members were new MPs in the 2019 election. Edinburgh South West MP Joanna Cherry was replaced by Anne McLaughlin MP for Glasgow North East as Shadow Secretary of State for Justice and Immigration. Joanna Cherry tweeted, "Despite hard work, results and a strong reputation, I have been sacked today from the SNP front bench. My constituents and fellow party members who gave me a resounding mandate in the recent NEC elections should rest assured that I will continue to work hard for them." Commenting, Ian Blackford MP said, "We have a wealth of talent and experience, and this reshuffle of SNP MPs ensures that we are in the best possible position to hold the UK government to account during this global pandemic and the aftermath of Brexit, to support colleagues ahead of the Scottish elections and to deliver independence. Team working and cooperation are key to ensuring the results and this reshuffle will give us a strong team to take us forward. We have an incredibly hard-working group of MPs, and I thank them all for their commitment and congratulate those in new positions. I was pleased to welcome 4 MPs to the front bench: Patricia Gibson MP, Angela Crawley MP, Richard Thompson MP and Stephen Flynn MP. I would also like to thank Tommy Shepherd for his work as shadow spokesperson for the Cabinet Office, and I congratulate him on his new role as the SNP shadow spokesperson for Constitutional Affairs. Neil Gray MP will coordinate our inclusion and wellbeing team before he steps down as an MP and seeks election to the Scottish Parliament. I thank him for all his work and wish him all the very best. We are at a crucial time in politics. Never before have we faced a challenge as great as the global pandemic, and Scotland is acutely feeling the ramifications of leaving the European Union. With the Scottish elections on the horizon and independence in touching distance, our new team is ready to work hard for Scotland." The MP statement made no mention of Joanna Cherry. And now a new poll has showed that Nicola Sturgeon is still the most popular leader in Scotland and across the United Kingdom. A new poll has shown that the SNP leader and First Minister Nicola Sturgeon continues to be the most popular leader in Scotland and across the UK. Polling from Opinium asked voters how they thought each UK party leader was performing, with Nicola Sturgeon receiving a net plus 24% approval rating in Scotland and plus 10% across the UK. By contrast, Boris Johnson scored negative 35 in Scotland and negative 8 across the UK. Keir Starmer was given a negative 17 by the people in Scotland and positive 9 in the UK. And the Lib Dems leader Ed Davey scored minus 15 and minus 12 respectively, making Nicola Sturgeon the most popular leader in both Scotland and the UK. Results from the poll make grim reading for Boris Johnson, as 60% of people think he is incompetent, 59% untrustworthy, and 65% out of touch. The poll also revealed that the First Minister has the highest rating within her own party's supporters, with SNP supporters giving the leader a score of plus 86%, whereas Johnson, Starmer and Davey scored plus 73, plus 59 and plus 35 from within their own party's supporters. The SNP leader is also the highest approval rating of UK-wide Remain voters at plus 43%, and is only 11 points behind Keir Starmer in terms of approval from within the UK-wide Labour Party. Commenting, SNP Deputy Leader Keith Brown, MSP, said, "The poll shows that people continue to support and show faith in the leadership of Nicola Sturgeon as she continues to lead us through the COVID-19 pandemic. It's no coincidence that the competent performance of the Scottish Government to deliver for the people of Scotland has meant that 20 polls in a row show sustained support for Scottish independence. When given the choice of being led by a hard Brexit Tory government, with Prime Ministers like Boris Johnson at the helm, or being given the right to choose their own future, more and more people are deciding the right path for Scotland is independence. Soon Scotland will have the right to choose a better future as an independent European nation, the only way to guarantee that it is with both votes SNP in May." And now to Myanmar, where the army has taken control in a coup. Myanmar's military has taken power in a coup and declared a state of emergency, just hours after detaining Aung San Suu Kyi and other senior figures from the ruling party. Phone and mobile internet services in the city of Yangon were down this morning, and military trucks, one carrying barbed wire barriers, were parked outside City Hall. The state-run MRTV network said that it had been unable to broadcast. Banks were closed across the nation. Military television said the army had taken control of the country for 1 year, with power handed to the Commander-in-Chief, General Min Aung Hlaing. It said that the army had detained senior government leaders in response to fraud in the last year's general election. A statement attributed to Aung San Suu Kyi said the military was trying to reimpose a dictatorship. "I urge people not to accept this, to respond and wholeheartedly to protest against the coup by the military," the statement read. Over the past week, there has been mounting concern that the army, which ran Myanmar alone for over half a century until 2011, was preparing for a return to full military rule. It has alleged widespread irregularities in November's election, which Aung San Suu Kyi's party won in a landslide victory, and said last week that a coup could not be ruled out, prompting the UN and several foreign missions in the country to express alarm. The military's actions brought swift condemnation from leaders and human rights experts around the world. President Joe Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki, said that the US opposed any attempt to alter the outcome of recent elections or to impede Myanmar's democratic transition, and will take action against those responsible if these steps are not reversed. The UK Secretary of State Anthony Blinken also called for the release of Aung San Suu Kyi and other detainees. The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said that developments represented a serious blow to the democratic reforms in Myanmar. Tom Andrews, the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Myanmar, said that the situation was very disturbing. "What many have feared is indeed unfolding in Myanmar," he said. Now back to the UK. The United Kingdom government must retain the £20 universal credit uplift. A cross-party group of MPs has urged the United Kingdom government to maintain the £20 uplift to universal credit and to extend it to legacy benefits in order to avoid a two-tier social security system. The all-party parliamentary group on poverty, which is co-chaired by Neil Gray MP, has also called for the suspension of the benefit cap for the duration of the pandemic, which would enable all low-income households to benefit from the £20 uplift. This comes after a growing backlash from the third sector towards the Tory government for failing to oppose plans to cut the universal credit uplift in a vote. While the SNP voted against the cut to universal credit, which comes into force in April, the Scottish Tory MPs abstained, despite Douglas Ross previously backing an extension uplift. And now to tackling poverty and inequality. Tackling deep-seated poverty and inequality will be supported by increased funding from the 2021-22 Scottish Budget. To ensure that all children have the best start in life, £68 million will be invested in the Scottish Child Payment, and £53 million will fund universal free school meals to all children in primaries 1, 2 and 3. Communities impacted by coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic will continue to be supported through funds aimed at helping them to recover and rebuild. The 2021-22 Scottish Budget includes a near doubling of spending through the Tackling Child Poverty Fund with £23.3 million of investment, and providing £6 million to local authorities to continue providing a school clothing grant worth at least £100 to each individual eligible child. £3.6 billion for social security to carers and those on low incomes, £150 million for fuel poverty and energy efficiency measures, £711.6 million for affordable housing, and a new £55 million programme to support town centres. £32 million will be made available to promote equality and human rights, including actions to ensure this approach is embedded across government and the wider public sector. There will be £15 million to further support children and young people with additional support needs. There will be more than £26 million of investment in the vital third sector. £81.6 million for projects to support community regeneration, town centres and 20-minute neighbourhoods where people can meet their needs within a 20-minute walk from their home. And over £12 million to support the Ending Homelessness Together action plan, including specific actions to scale up housing first, end the use of communal night shelters, advance legislative protections for people experiencing domestic abuse, and to explore alternative routes to reduce migrant homelessness. And now to rebuilding the economy, supporting people into employment and equipping them with the skills they need to be at the heart of the economic recovery, backed with £1.1 billion of investment under the proposed Scottish Budget of 2021-22. Additional investment of £125 million will go towards the Young Persons Guarantee, the National Transition Training Fund and other initiatives, ensuring the future workforce has the skills needed for a green recovery and supporting those at risk of long-term unemployment. This includes personalised employment support and retraining for those who have been made unemployed or at risk of redundancy due to the pandemic. Since November, the Young Persons Guarantee has provided funding for around 18,000 opportunities for people aged between 16 and 24 to help them into work. Other funding for 2021 and 22 includes £230 million for Skills Development Scotland to deliver training, a £100 million Green Jobs Fund delivered over the next Parliament, £27 million for National Employability Service Fair Start. I'll read that again. £27 million for National Employability Service Fair Start Scotland, £21 million towards foundation and graduate apprenticeships, and £5 million for Community Jobs Scotland to create job opportunities for unemployed people aged between 16 and 29. And now to Russia. And Navalny's prosecutors are seeking a 3.5-year jail term. The Russian state prosecutors are poised to jail the opposition leader Alexei Navalny for 3.5 years, with the Kremlin shrugging off US complaints about his case ahead of a crucial court hearing tomorrow. Navalny, who was jailed after flying back to Moscow last month, faces the prospect of a lengthy spell behind bars. Vladimir Putin's press spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, said that Moscow would ignore statements from the Biden administration following Sunday's mass pro-Navalny protests. After demonstrators took to the streets in 90 towns and cities across the country, riot police responded with a major show of force. They made a record number of arrests, detaining 5,300 people, including Navalny's wife Yulia, who was seized in northeast Moscow. The Kremlin's apparent strategy is to tough out the growing street protests, which are likely to continue on Tuesday when Navalny appears in court. Moscow's prison service has demanded a 3.5-year sentence for alleged parole violations. Navalny says the charges are fake and politically motivated. He is accused of failing to meet his parole officer while he was in Germany recovering from Novichok poisoning. Navalny alleges that Putin authorized the bungled FSB spy agency operation last August to kill him in Siberia. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has condemned Moscow's heavy-handed tactics against peaceful protesters and journalists and has called for Navalny to be set free. And now to news of local councils. Details of how £11.6 billion of funding from the Scottish Government will be distributed to individual local authorities in 2021-22 have been published. The settlement provides councils with an increase in day-to-day revenue spending of £335.6 million, including £90 million to compensate the local authorities which choose to freeze council tax. And a further £259 million will be added in one-off funding to support ongoing COVID-19 pressures. In total, councils will receive an additional revenue funding of almost £600 million to support vital local government services in 2021 and 22. The Scottish Government will also increase a scheme which compensates councils for the loss of income from sales, fees and charges due to the pandemic, from £90 million to £200 million in 2020-21. And now to tackling misogynistic behaviour. The independent working group, chaired by leading human rights lawyer Baroness Helena Kennedy QC, to consider the creation of a standalone offence to help tackle misogyny, will hold its inaugural meeting later this month. Baroness Kennedy has appointed a panel of experts to the working group with specialisms in Scots law, human rights, women's equality and perpetrator behaviours relating to gender-based violence. The Working Group on Misogyny and Criminal Justice System in Scotland will consider how the criminal justice system deals with misogyny, including where there are gaps in the law that could be addressed by specific offences to tackle such behaviour. A number of evidence sessions from a wide range of sources will be held over the coming year, with a view to reporting its findings to the Scottish Government within 12 months, as recommended by the Justice Committee in their Stage 1 report. The group will also consider whether a statutory aggravation or a stirring up of hatred offence in relation to the characteristics of sex should be added to the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland legislation by regulation at a future date. In a related Twitter announcement this evening, the Scottish Government Justice Minister Humza Yousaf said that the Government and opposition members have all agreed not to move amendments in relation to the Freedom of Expression Hate Crime Bill. By not moving, they are hoping to achieve consensus on a broad range of freedom of expression clause for Stage 3, which covers all characteristics so that no group feels targeted. Mr Yousaf said, "We all want to ensure freedom of speech, including freedom to disagree robustly with policy is protected. We also agree that this is not mutually exclusive to protecting the rights of people to be free from hatred." And now to the care system. Care-experienced young people will be at the heart of a £4 million fund to help improve the lives of those in or on the edges of care. The Promise Partnership Fund will help organisations to implement changes so that they can better support children, young people and families who need it. Private, public and third sector organisations can apply, and care-experienced young people will assist in the final funding decisions. The Deputy First Minister, John Swinney, said, "The Promise Partnership Fund is an important step towards keeping the promise to bring transformational changes to the lives of children, young people and families in or on the edges of care. We have already seen many partners take the principles of the promise to heart in to the heart of their organisations. This initial funding towards keeping the promise will help organisations to make the changes that are necessary to improve holistic family support so that families are listened to and get the support where they need it, when they need it and for as long as they need it. It's absolutely right that care-experienced young people and families will be at the heart of the Promise Partnership Fund decision-making process." And that is about all of the news this evening. Just remains for me to remind you that Broadcasting Scotland is holding a major crowdfunder at the moment. If you would like to donate, you can do so either by becoming a supporter of Broadcasting Scotland by following the advice on your screens now. You can also make individual donations, and of course you can volunteer if you have free time to spare. Anyway, from the studio here at Broadcasting Scotland, that is all tonight from Scotland at 7. And I'll see you again later in the week. But for now, a very good evening to you.
The Catalans, the Basques, the Galicians in the Basque.
An independent future for Scotland.
How quickly do you think a referendum can be arranged?
Best practice demands that it should be 6 months.
Just looking at the overall share numbers for Scotland at the moment, the SNP 46.4%.